Hello and welcome to another episode of Wheel of Horror, the podcast where two best friends spin a wheel once a week. It chooses a horror film and they discuss it. Today we're talking about 1981's The Burning, which was directed by Tony Maylam. I'm your co-host Alec,
Eric.
and I remember why this is on this wheel now. So I think you must have found Madman or Mad Max, no, Jesus, Madman,
Correct.
and then it must have said this was similar to Madman.
Also, this is part of the summer wheel, technically. It's still, when we're recording this, still summer. So I
Yeah.
was looking at summer movies, and this was one that came up when you type in summer horror movies.
Yeah, and this is that one that if you listen to our Madman episode, we talk about this one a little bit because this came out the same year
Yeah.
and it's about a killer named Cropsey and it's similar, but dude, this one's not bad.
I don't think the madman character's name was Cropsey,
Right.
but it was based on the Cropsey character. He had a different name in that movie.
That movie is awful.
Madman, I think this is better than Madman. Just a little better than Madman.
Dude, I think this is way better than Madman.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's not. I mean, I can't say way better. It's a lot better, but it's not. Yeah,
I mean, it's not great.
it's more of a movie. Let's give it that. Let's just say it's more of a film.
Yeah, I don't know. I just enjoyed it more. Maybe the music and just I don't know, the acting. Maybe because I recognized a lot of the actors too. I think that helped a little bit.
Ending actually made sense.
Yeah.
Stuff made more sense in this than Mad Men. So to compare the two, this is better. You're right.
And it's crazy because this came out 6 months before Madman or whatever. And it also had a bigger, oh no, oh, okay. So this had a $1.5 million budget, but it lost so much money where
Yeah,
Madman made money and this one lost money. So if I had to bet on which one I thought would have done better, I would have assumed this one.
yeah. It's like you would invest in this one over Mad Men for sure.
But the reason that this one did bad is because it came out the week after Friday the 13th Part 2.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, dude. It's so crazy that back then, okay, so in 1980, Friday the 13th comes out. Everybody's like, whoa, that was so cool. The next year, Friday the 13th Part 2 comes out, and this one comes out, and this is arguably better.
Then two. Then two.
Yeah, but they're just like, oh, well, I already know Friday the 13th, so I'll just go see that. And then this movie just falls into obscurity, never to be really seen again. Friday the 13th just crushed it.
It's well, that's because I mean, like, dude, Friday the 13th was groundbreaking. I mean, I'm curious if your dad remembers that this movie coming out, The Burning coming out. He
I
probably, oh yeah,
know.
no one saw that shit.
I know. I mean, my dad wasn't like a horror guy, but I think at just that time,
Well, just the impact the first Friday the 13th had on him.
yeah,
I'm just curious if he ever wanted to see the second one, or like were his friends like everyone saw that movie after the first one, and then
I know. I gotta ask him.
I'm curious if he's like, hey, did you ever hear the movie The Burning? He's like, oh yeah, that's the movie no one saw.
Right, because he would have been 15 when this came out, and if we're 15, we're seeing like a lot of movies. So I don't know. I'll ask him and get back to everybody. But yeah, I mean, this is basically it's crazy because this came out a year after Friday the 13th, but it's not like they ripped off Friday the 13th because it kind of they wrote it before Friday the 13th came out and they started shooting.
You know what I'm gonna say? This reminds me of more
What?
Pumpkinhead 2,
Oh yeah, I did think of Pumpkinhead 2 in one scene.
which is wild that all these similar films are on this wheel.
Fuck, there was one part very much like Pumpkinhead 2. I can't remember what it is now. It'll come to me later.
Well, it's just like getting revenge on your killers so many years later. How Pumpkinhead 2 is like 30 years later. I think this is 5 years later.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a little crazy. So like, oh, that's it. Okay, yes. So Pumpkinhead 2, the witch like knocks over the candle and lights her house on fire. That's what happened in this movie too.
I know, dude.
Yeah. So a lot of movies recently have had people that are like knocking candles over and lighting themselves on fire. Because this movie starts off, it's like a group of guys at a summer camp and they're just like, I hate Cropsey.
Kids.
Yeah, they're like, let's go fuck with Cropsey. I hate that guy. And they're like, okay. So they get a skull and they put worms and stuff in it and they in a candle and Cropsey is sleeping. So they put the skull next to his bed and then they're like, hey, Cropsey. And he gets up, knocks the skull onto his bed. It lights the bed on fire.
No. You're missing the best part. He
What?
knocks the skull on the ground. It hits the curtains. And
Yeah.
then what does he knock into after he gets
The
out of
gasoline, right?
who sleeps with a barrel of gasoline an uncapped barrel of gasoline right next to their bed? Like
Yeah.
that is it was so terribly placed here. Like even if he gets up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, he's gonna bump into that.
Well, just breathing the fumes in.
I literally laughed out loud.
You know what they should have done? This is what they should have, because they even say later that he was a really bad alcoholic. He should have had like moonshine or something like that.
That's a good point, but oof.
Yeah, but he has gasoline in his like, studio apartment house, basically.
Well, he's at the camp. He's in a cabin.
Yeah, but he doesn't, does he work at the cabin or what was the
Yeah, he's like the janitor of
Okay.
the camp. They hate him because he's the alcoholic asshole who's abusive. That's what they say.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. So we never see that, but everybody's like, yeah, he was a real drunk piece of shit. And everybody's like, okay. So we just believe that. We don't know, but we assume that they're right. So this guy lights on fire in a horrible way. It's like the first thing you learn in fucking elementary school is stop, drop, and roll. This guy's like, nah. And he just is on fire running, like flailing around running.
Yeah, he's like the wacky inflatable tube man on fire. Oh, oh, oh.
And then he just keeps running into the lake and he falls down this hill and falls into the lake. And then the kids are like, come on, let's go. And I'm just like, wow, you guys are fucked up. Like, you should definitely try to help this guy. But they don't. Cropsey somehow survives, though. So they must have told somebody because, like, the cops aren't going to be walking around that camp at night and be like, oh, look, there's a guy in the lake. So they must have done something. But yeah, so he goes to the hospital. He's got like the worst burns ever. He scares this police officer and this doctor, and so he's horrifically burned.
And he's been in the hospital by the time he gets out. It's 5 years, they said. He's
Yeah.
been having his burns that took that long to heal, and he's had multiple skin grafts that have gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, you hear voiceovers of the doctors being like, "Sorry, Mr. Cropsey, like the skin grafts aren't taking," and stuff like that. And you're just like, "I thought you'd die, but okay." But he survives after 5 years of being in the hospital trying to get his skin put back together.
Oh
They
man, 5 years of hospital food in the 80s. Oh my, just put me down.
Well, also, I love the voiceovers are like, "You need to let this anger and this revenge go towards those kids." So I'm like wondering, was he just sitting in the bed like, "I'm gonna fuck those kids up. I'm gonna fuck those kids up." He just kept saying
Yeah,
it.
every day the nurse comes in. It's like, hey, Cropsy, you want grilled cheese or salmon? It's like, I want the grilled cheese, and I'm gonna kill those kids the second I get out of
You're like,
here.
all right, you're gonna kill the kids. Okay.
Is it grilled cheese again, Cropsy? It's like, yeah.
Yeah, so he's just like repeatedly saying, I'm gonna get revenge, I'm gonna kill these kids. So they let him out, because he didn't do anything. It's not like he's in jail. Like,
No, he's just I don't know. His insurance must be pretty good.
I mean, my God, yeah. I mean, either that,
A 5 year hospital bill today, it's like just what do you do?
yeah, it's a death wish. You're just like, I'm gonna, yeah. So what he does is crazy. He immediately is like, I'm gonna go get a prostitute and kill her. And you're like, why? Why are you doing this? This doesn't help your case, Cropsey, for us to be like, hey, I feel bad for this guy. They lit him on fire. And then he gets out. He's like, I'm gonna go get a prostitute.
It was immediate.
First thing he does.
And he's walking out of the hospital. He already has like a full like what does he look like? He looks like how do I describe it? You know when like kids like stand on each other's shoulders and then like in like
Oh,
Space
yeah.
Jam when the aliens are dressing up to like
Yeah.
steal Michael Jordan's power. Like that's exactly what he looked like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yeah. So that's like the first and only kill for like an hour, basically. It's just this random prostitute, and then we don't see him for a while. Goes to the camp, and then basically it's kind of like Friday the 13th or every other 80s camp slasher movie, just a bunch of kids at a camp being assholes, picking on each other. It's like kind of the same old.
Wait, time out. We forgot who funded this.
Oh, wow, you really want to talk about it? All right.
Yeah, right now's a good time.
Yeah, so unfortunately, the Weinsteins, the Bob and Harvey Weinstein, this is their first movie, and I thought they just produced it. I didn't realize they wrote it too.
Well, look at the scenes. It's like imagine like okay, go to
Mm-hmm.
the camp, you do this, and it's like, well, any prostitutes in here? Like any prostitutes? It's like, I mean, we could put one in, but there's no need for it. It's like let's do it right after the hospital scene.
Well, I mean, dude, if you watch this movie, there's a lot of sexually aggressive stuff.
Yeah,
A lot of the girls being like, "No, I said no, get off." And he's like, "What are you doing?" Like,
that's it's important to bring up. Like think of who wrote this, and like it makes sense. It adds up.
Yeah, I mean, not all the characters are like that, but there are a few that are there's two specifically that are like very sexually aggressive, and the girls, for the most part, are like, get off of me.
And another movie on the wheel, and this is another like Jason Voorhees in Manhattan, right? There is a scene where someone is like like the drug dealers are very aggressively,
Yeah.
and Jason steps in. We've never seen Jason do any of that. So I don't know, something about this wheel, man, it's very connected.
And teeth too. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one.
Yeah, yeah. So, all right, yeah. So there's a through line, but yeah. So we'll get into the dialogue a little bit, but yeah. So the characters are scummy. It's written by two scummy guys, and yeah. So unfortunately, that does kind of tarnish this film a bit. But yeah, a couple of the actors though that stood out, dude. It's crazy. Jason Alexander's in this, which is just like, and he also looks like 35 in this movie. He's 21.
I know, I thought the same thing, but I mean, he looked good. I like Jason Alexander.
Oh, I like him too, but it's just so funny how like he always looks like 15 years older than he actually is. And yeah, so in this movie he's like 21, but he definitely looks older. And then you've got, do you know Fisher Stevens? Do you know who he is?
No, that name rings a bell though.
He's the guy in this movie who gets his fingers cut off and he's got like the long hair.
Yep. The hell's he in?
Dude, okay, okay. So he's in Succession, which he's great in that.
Never seen Succession, so that's on my
Yeah,
to-do list.
one of my favorites. But the other thing that he's in, which is crazy. Do you remember Short Circuit, the movie Short Circuit?
Johnny Five?
Yeah, Johnny Five is alive. That guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Dude, so Fisher Stevens plays the Indian doctor in that movie.
And he's not Indian.
No, he's not. And yeah, so he's got like an accent, darker
The
skin.
problem with a poo times two.
That was 1988. Yeah, so
Different time, man.
the other thing, he's 16, I think, in this movie, and he shows his ass, and I'm like, uh-oh. Because I remember in The Girl Next
Mm.
Door, that movie, The Girl Next Door, there's that scene where
Emil Hirsch, yeah, it's clearly not him.
and
Yeah.
that's not him because he was 17. But in this movie, that I was like, oh, I wonder how old Fisher Stevens is in this. And I looked him up. He was like 16. He's definitely not 18. And
Yeah.
there's a scene where he shows his ass, and I'm like, uh-oh.
That also raises your eyebrow with like the Raiders. It's like, okay. Who's behind this?
Yeah. Underage boys showing their butts. Yeah. So
Not okay.
yeah. So anyways, Fisher Stevens, Jason Alexander, Holly Hunter's in this movie too. She's also in Succession. She's also the voice of Miss Incredible in The Incredibles. She's in that movie 13. She's been in a lot of movies. So yeah, so there's like some people that I recognize before they became big stars, which is kind of cool. But yeah, so kind of all just douchey characters, just they're all just trying to get laid. That's the whole movie basically. Not really any character development with any of them. There is the lead of the camp. I think his name is Todd.
Todd. Yep.
Yeah. And he's just like in Friday the 13th and Madman. There's always like the counselor guy who's a little bit older and he's like, come on, guys, get it together. Like, we're trying to keep this face running or whatever. And he's basically the lead. So this movie's interesting because it was before the final girl trope, and he's basically the final guy of the movie. I mean, he's essentially the lead, I'd say.
I'd say he's the lead camper. Yeah.
No, the lead counselor. He's a counselor.
Yeah, lead counselor. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh, and then the other guy we forgot to mention is basically Woody Allen. Young Woody Allen is the guy from Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Well, what the hell's his name? Yeah, what character was he in Fast and
He's Ratner or whatever. He's like the yeah. So he's in this movie too. He didn't really have much of a career after this, but yeah, his name is Brian Backer.
I knew that was him. Why didn't I call that out? That's crazy.
Yeah. So those two guys, I'd say the Todd, the counselor, the head counselor, and then Alfred or whatever. Those are, I'd say, the two leads basically. And yeah, I mean, there's not really much going on for most of the movie. In the middle point, it's just them hooking up or trying to hook up, and then they do the classic fireside story where they tell the story of Cropsey and that he was this raging alcoholic that worked at the camp and he was mean to the kids, and then one kid finally, attacked him and he vowed revenge and you can hear him and blah blah blah, and then they have a guy come out and scare everybody. It's a lot like Club Dread.
I was just gonna say Club Dread does the best story with this, and that boy was me.
Yeah.
If you want a good laugh, you don't have to watch the whole movie, but club type in YouTube Club Dread. Was it Skinny Pete? What was the
Yeah, I think that's it.
Yes, the killer campfire story. Freaking hilarious. I won't spoil it.
And I think that definitely took inspiration from this scene. But So
Yeah.
many movies in the early 80s.
Yeah, I mean, it's like how many movies have we had in this wheel that had just did a campfire scene?
Yeah, I mean, we've covered so many films that have done it. It's crazy. So, classic. All the campers are scared now, and yeah, I mean, there's that one character. I think his name is Larry. He's like the blonde guy who they all like make fun of his accent, which is kind of funny because they all have like thick New York accents because they're all from New York City, but this is filmed in Buffalo, so it's like an upstate camp. But yeah, they make fun of that one. Like he's the aggressive guy. You know what I'm talking about? Lou. His name is Lou. Or no, no.
Okay.
No, what the fuck's his name? Glazer.
Glazer. Who names their kid Glazer?
Yeah. So that guy was definitely like the bully. He's the one that pushes Alfred around. He's the one that wants to have sex with all these girls, but they're kind of like afraid of him basically, but he just keeps pushing. Yeah, and there's a couple pranks, they shoot the guy he's on the raft, they shoot him with the gun. So, it's stupid fun. But yeah, I'm trying to remember when the kills really start. Because Cropsey, he just wants revenge, I guess, on everybody, because this isn't even the same camp.
Well, wasn't it, it was the couple in the woods. And they're doing the thing, doing the naughty, and then he kills the girl and the guy.
Yeah, okay.
He just shows up.
I know, but you know what's annoying? He doesn't even go to the same camp. Because this is a different camp than the one where he was killed at. They even say they're like, it was across the lake at that camp.
Is this the same camp kids, right? That did it.
No.
I thought Todd said, "Oh,
Todd is.
yeah."
The camp counselor Todd in this movie was one of the kids at a different camp 5 years ago who burnt Cropsey. And then Cropsey comes back to this camp, which isn't the same camp he was at, and then just starts killing basically whoever he sees.
Yeah, and another this isn't half the wheel too. Like the killer comes back and kills people that had nothing to do with his burning or his pumpkin head stuff or anything, but he kills
Yeah.
other people. It's like there's a lot of innocent people except freaking Todd.
Yeah. Todd gets away.
Yeah, I know, and he's the final girl, pretty much.
It would be better if all of the campers became camp counselors and then they start killing the camp counselors. That would have probably been a better move.
Well, you know that copies
What? Friday 13th?
Friday the 13th, 100%. That is a copy of Friday the 13th. This at least has the layer of a kid who's now grown up that is a counselor.
It's so funny because we just talked about it, but like the camp count or the voiceovers are just like, you got to stop talking about getting revenge on these kids. And then he doesn't even go after those kids. He just goes after whatever kids he sees at whatever camp he finds first. So it hurts his motive a little bit.
It's like he just hates campers and
Yeah,
counselors. Yeah. He doesn't even hate counselors, he hates campers. It's
I
wild.
guess.
I don't
Yeah.
know.
So yeah.
Listen. If I'm in a hospital eating Panera Bread hospital food for 5 years, who knows if he was able to get out of bed and do bingo night or like, yeah, I'm gonna kill someone. I'm absolutely going nuts. I don't blame him. I don't blame him.
Yeah, if you got burnt alive, basically, I don't know. Yeah, they don't really do a good job of setting him up as a guy that deserved to get burned alive at all.
If you showed like a montage of him getting skin grafts and being in like scorching pain and they're like taking bandages off of him, like you might feel a little sympathy for him. It's like, I get it. Like I might kill someone for that.
Yeah, Freddy Krueger killed kids or kidnapped kids, and you're like, okay, yeah, I want him to die. This guy, they're like, he was an alcoholic, and you're like, oh, okay, like, but
Yeah.
what else did he do though?
He had a rough life. He had a tough time. Like let
Yeah,
him he's
yeah, I don't know.
cleaning shit off the walls in a camp. Like
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah. So basically he then starts coming and killing kids and they do one scene where they're like, "Hey, let's go do a canoe race," and they lose the canoes. I can't really remember how it happens. I don't know if Cropsey has something to do with it or not. And they get trapped. So they're like, "We got to get out of here." So they build this like raft or whatever and they send some of the camp counselors or some of the campers out on this makeshift raft to get back to camp because there's no cell phones or anything. So they're doing that. And this is probably the best scene in the movie. They're like, hey, there's one of the canoes. And they go up to the canoe. And I'm totally expecting to see one of the dead bodies in there. But no, it's Cropsey. And he comes out and murders half the cast just in one.
literally, it's like that's the climax of the movie.
Yeah, it's different. I've never seen anything like that in a slasher film where they're trapped on like a very small raft and Cropsey just comes out in the middle of the lake and murders all of them and none of them stand a chance. Like that's pretty unique, you know?
Yeah, it reminded me of Terminator 1 when the Terminator just arrives at the police station and just wipes out the entire police station. That's like pretty much what he does with the campers.
Just it's crazy we haven't covered that yet, but yeah.
Terminator 1?
Yeah.
We've never done that? Oh, we got to
Nope,
do
I
that.
know.
Yeah.
I
Is
know.
it horror,
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
sci-fi horror? Yeah, let's make
Yes,
it happen.
for sure. Yeah, so that scene's crazy. I mean, he cuts off a guy's fingers. He uses, I mean, because his primary tool, I guess, is like gardening shears, which, sure, you know. But, I guess it's good that he has like a definitive weapon because that's pretty much all he uses, I think. And he kills, yeah, I think like 5 or 6 kids on this raft. Then they get back to camp somehow. It kind of all blends together. It really is just like early 80s camper slasher flashes. Like, I'm having trouble retaining specifics, but.
Same. It's a very forgettable film. It's a little slow, even though it's only 90 minutes long.
Yeah, but I still liked it a lot more than Madman. But oh, the other thing is like you're not like a Shutter guy, right? You don't ever watch Shutter?
No, no.
Okay. So Shutter has just like Netflix has like dum dum like they have that thing. Shutter has their own original thing that John Carpenter scored and it's lit Eric, I'm telling you it is this movie. Whenever there's the heartbeat they're like doom 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 Doom. That is Shudder's opening thing. And I typed it in. People are talking about it on Reddit. And I'm like, John Carpenter, no.
No shit. Like John Carpenter stole like
Dude, I'm telling you, Eric, if you've seen like any Shudder movie or TV show, it all starts off with that dun 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 dun. And this movie, it's almost verbatim the exact same thing. So I was like, uh-oh, John Carpenter, no.
nah, I don't I'm not buying it. I'm on and if it did, I'd give JC the pass, man.
I know. No, I know.
What would JC do? You know what I mean? That's what you gotta say.
Yeah, so I did like the music though. I like that heartbeat, that whole dun 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 dun. Like that was cool. Not really any memorable kills though, aside from the raft. Like he just cuts people up with garden shears. He when there's that one Glazer guy is having sex or whatever, he's like, "I'll be right back." Like so he comes like immediately or whatever, he premature ejaculates, and he's like, "I'm gonna build us a fire. I'll be right back, baby." And he goes, and then he just comes out and kills the girl he's with and then he comes back and gets murdered too. And Alfred sees that. So then Alfred finally goes to the camp counselors once they've all gotten back to the camp and they're like, "Where's all the kids?" And he's like, "Hey, I just saw this guy kill Glazer or whatever." He's like, "What?" And I did not think the body was going to be there. So this movie did kind of surprise me a little bit where Alfred and Todd go and they look and they find Glazer's body. And then he's like, "What the fuck?" And then Cropsey comes out and attacks him then. And then we kind of get into the final scene of the movie.
Yeah, definitely has its good plot points. I'll say that. It flows nicer than a lot of other films we've done.
Yeah, for an early slasher that didn't really have the Friday the 13th template to go off of, it kind of was original at the time. I mean, Madman, I don't know when they started filming that, but that came out over a year later than Friday the 13th. So I feel like they could have stolen some stuff from that.
I also read something that this movie was conceptualized as Friday the 13th was coming out. So yeah, like I can see that. It's like, oh man, like oh if this movie came out before Friday the 13th, mate, who knows?
I know. Yeah, it's like if this movie came out a year earlier, who knows if we'd be watching The Burning Part 10 or whatever as opposed to Friday the 13th. It's that crazy that at that period of time it was up for grabs who was going to be the franchise of the 80s. It's kind of nuts. And this one just it didn't work. I mean, I don't know. There's nothing really wrong with Cropsey as a killer. Like he's fine. He's creepy looking. He's got a motive. He's got a weapon. I think the Friday the 13th twist at the end is what really, stuck with people. It's like, oh, it's the mom? Like, what? So people like that. But the kills in this movie are pretty much just as good as Friday the 13th. I mean, it doesn't have that memorable kill like the Kevin Bacon one, but like that raft scene is pretty good.
Yeah, no, I liked it. Let me run through the classic stats. So this movie came out in May 8th, 1981. It's an hour and 31 minutes. My perfect timing for a horror movie. Its budget was 1.5 million and it only made 700,000.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned Friday the 13th Part 2 came out. Its Rotten Critics scores is 77, which is good.
Yeah.
And then its audience is 60. So the people that did go to see it liked it back then.
I feel like those are better than Friday the 13th's reviews, the original one.
Part 2 or
No, like part one. If this movie genuinely came out, or if they decided to release it like a month later after Friday the 13th Part 2, but the only people that are going to see Friday the 13th Part 2 and then this the following week are huge horror fans. And I don't know if it's enough to bring in the money that they needed. So They should have released this months after, or maybe even who knows, before. But yeah, the Friday the 13th, I'm pretty sure the critic reviews are worse for that movie than for this one. I'm pretty sure.
Pulling them up right now. 66 critic, so it's lower, yeah.
Yeah,
And 60 audience, which is that's crazy to think about.
yeah,
And the other similar movie that just came out, the second Friday, 33 critic score, 48 audience. So
yeah. It's just timing. It's literally just timing. There's nothing wrong with this movie. It's just the time that it came out. It was overshadowed,
it's
and
like
people.
getting the death slot in the TV. It's like, oh man, like we're on when Sunday Night Football's on. Like no one's gonna watch us.
Well, we'll get to the ending then. So, what's his face? Cropsey then fights Alfred. He takes his shears, and I don't know why he doesn't kill Alfred, but he gets his arm trapped against the wall with the garden shears. So his arms are getting like cut up with the shears, but he's trapped there, and then Cropsey leaves him there. And then Todd comes, and they have this like final showdown basically where yeah, they take an axe and they stab Cropsey in the head into the support beam of the barn they're in or something like that. And then they light him on fire because he comes back. So then they light him on fire. And then he literally, like, I don't know how they did this, but it looks like they probably burnt that building down they were in because that support beam was on fire for quite a while. So, yeah, Cropsey, his body is on fire with an axe in it, and Todd and Alfred both get away. A lot of the camp counselors and campers are dead. And then they cut back to like another campfire story, and they're like, yeah, Cropsey, they never found his body and he's still out there. And you're like, how the fuck is he still out there? As far as we know, this guy's just a burn victim. He's not anything supernatural. So at this point, he got an axe on the head and lit on fire, and they didn't find his body, so he somehow survives that. I mean, sure, but we never see him again, and then the movie ends with just like a little jump scare of like somebody jumping in front of the screen like "Bah," and then it's over.
Yeah, but he's out there is the idea.
Sure. I mean, Jason at least, yeah, he's a zombie, so you can grasp your head in the later ones, you can wrap your head around that. But this one is like, how is this guy alive? He should be
Yeah,
probably weaker because he's a burn victim and he's been in the hospital for 5 years.
he got microwaved twice. Like you never microwave food twice.
Yeah, he's fucked.
Yeah, he's done.
But yeah, I mean, it's like Jeepers Creepers, where the creators are so gross that it's hard to not think about it when there are certain lines of dialogue in the movie. A lot of the guys, there's two guys, that are just really aggressive, and there's no actual sexual assault in the movie, but it is like it's uncomfortable, and especially knowing the guy that wrote it, what is the undertext of what he was thinking and stuff like that. So it's hard. And I can see why this movie probably doesn't get as much credit as it deserves because of those guys now. I don't think people are rushing to tell their friends about this movie.
I mean, it's just crazy how they had such an impact on Hollywood. They had such a grip on it, and the stories coming out. It's just like wow.
Yeah. And this is where it all started.
Yeah, I think he texted me. He was Harvey was in critical condition the other day or something.
Let's not talk
Who
about
the
that.
fuck cares? Yeah,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
a
yeah.
he's a terrible, terrible person, but
But yeah, if you're an 80s slasher person, this is definitely one of the better ones. And now we can finally understand the whole story between this and Mad Max, or Jesus, Madman, and understand why, two Cropsey stories comes out. And also watch that Cropsey documentary if you're interested at all in this or Madman. The Cropsey documentary I think is better than both of these, and it's just better. Yeah, it's real, so anyways, you got any last minute thoughts on The Burning?
it's just a nice end way to end the summer wheel for sure. Or we have one more, right? We have one more.
Yeah, we got Final Girls. So that's our
Okay.
final wheel. Sorry, final episode, Final Girls. Yeah, so we'll have that next week, and then we're starting in October. So, oh, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the video episode last week.
Yeah, for first time we've done a video, I think, right? That's the first time.
Yeah, so we'll try and do more. It didn't take too long to edit.
I got to work on my backdrop
Yeah,
though.
yeah,
Not exciting.
we both do. Well, anyways, everybody, thank you very much for listening into our discussion on The Burning, and we will see you next week with Final Girls.